I feel that when we have a world full of people who have the wisdom of having experienced things, enough energy and enough desire to give back, it saves the rest of us a lot of time and energy to have the village elder actually not have Alzheimer's disease and not be in a hospital.
Yeah.
Right.
That's powerful. Yeah.
So that's a big part of my mission. And getting a $50 thing that makes your telomeres longer, that's a pretty good ROI.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's already out there, or is that something you're
It's called Epitalon. It's here. It's not something I make. I'm not selling that, so I'm just telling you about
Epitalon?
it. Epitalon. Epitalon. And I forget which chapter it's in, but I describe it. And if you ask your nutritionist, they'll probably know about it.
Okay, cool.
And there's things that speed healing, something called BPC 157. You've probably tried that one. It's one of the injectable ones. It works. And there's other ones, something called TB 500. And you go into this and you're saying, wait, but all of these are under $100 and all of them have really strong effects. So if you're dealing with something like, oh, I have an injury, or this hurts, or I'm looking at this aspect of aging and I don't want to deal with that, or my brain isn't working. My brain wasn't working. I had arthritis. I was fat. I was at high risk of stroke and heart attack. I had pretty much the diseases of aging before I was 30. And it sucked. And I'm not going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you've got me asking myself, what is number 7? I know what number 7 is here, to make sure my memory still works. Number 7 is loss of tissue. Okay. And as we get old, you imagine that real thin skin? Yeah. So I actually talked about the rate of collagen loss and then what you can do about that. And if you are going to live for 100, 150 years, it's almost like having an investment in a bank account that compounds. So if you're saying, oh, I'm just going to take aging the way it normally comes, you're going to have really thin skin when you're old. Or you could...
You've got a loss of collagen, huh?
Yeah. It's not just collagen, but in that case, it's an example of collagen. Yeah. So yes.
Fat, it's collagen, it's whatever, yeah.
And there are a combination of exposure to light. There's things like red light therapy, or just getting some sunshine. Not too much sunshine, but not no sunshine either.
20 minutes a day or something.
Yeah. And a lot of times we just naturally say, kale's good or kale's bad. Kale's way more bad than good, but I'm not going to say kale's bad. Right. And I'm going to say the right amount. Eat kale a couple times a week. Fine. Right. And it's the same thing with sun. It's not bad, but getting a sunburn is bad, and getting none is bad. So it's like the correct
sun
dosage.
All day can cause cancer.
Yeah. Right. And
skin
just
disease. Yeah.
Right. All sorts of aging, photo aging. However, if you get some sunlight, including UVB without sunscreen, it actually increases skin thickness. And if you're eating collagen at the same time, so you have the building blocks for skin, I actually cite the studies in the book that say, okay, you can change the rate of tissue decline. And you go through here and you say, all right, what's causing this loss of tissues? Well, stem cell exhaustion. So if your stem cells run out, as they do over time, and they become less effective, you get something called sarcopenia, muscle loss. So eating the right amount of protein, and by the way, it's less protein than everyone thinks. Most people eating so much protein, it's increasing cancer risk.
There's no one who's protein deficient in America, right?
No. And even
it's not like you need so much all the time.
I was a raw vegan for a long time that made me really unhealthy, like it does almost everyone. And sorry, guys.
It's true.
I mean, you and I both know friends who really went in on it like I did. And eventually you're like, man, I'm actually not well. And then you recover. I just did it. I did that in like 2003, I think. And I just remember the hellish feeling. Rick Rubin was just on my show talk. He's like, I was 100+ pounds fat for 17 years because of the vegan nonsense. Like he was pretty fiery about it. Wow. But so that there is a big backlash coming. But here's the thing. If you're eating industrial meat, which is what 99% of people are eating, it's also making you old and fat and giving you cancer. So the only answer is you eat grass-fed meat, and you only need a couple ounces of it. You don't need a whole lot, yeah. And so the protein recommendations in here are defined based on body weight and all that, but they're much lower than most people think. And if you want to live a long time, you don't eat a lot of protein. So what do you eat instead? You eat vegetables, and you eat the right kinds of fat. And that's just critically important. If you do that, and then you do the things that manipulate a hormone called... Actually, it's a signaling compound, not a hormone, called Mtor. It's called mammalian target of rapamycin. And I wrote about this in the Bulletproof Diet and in the context of aging. Mtor makes you build muscles. However, if it's chronically elevated, it makes you grow cancer cells. So you're saying, how do I get muscles? You want low Mtor, except when you have high Mtor. So what you do, there's 3 ways to suppress Mtor. And you want to, like, it's like a spring. You push it down, and then you like gun goes boing, and then you put on muscle like a madman, and then you suppress. So get this. Fasting suppresses it. Exercise, like weightlifting, suppresses mTOR, and coffee suppresses mTOR.
Really?
So what would happen if you didn't eat breakfast, so now you fasted when you were asleep for 8 hours, you wait till noon, you have your coffee, so now you're fasted, now you've had coffee, and then you lift heavy things. Your mTOR is fully suppressed, and then after that, eat your protein, eat some steak, even have some carbs if you want, just don't eat your sugar bombs. Right. And what's going to happen is you just got a much higher ROI on your exercise because you did the things in the right order. And after that, by not eating too much protein, you keep your mTOR low. So you age less, but you still have the muscles you want in less time. Because I'm super lazy. I don't want to wake up early and exercise twice a day like you do. That sounds like an enormous amount of work.
A lot of work.
I want to play ping pong with my son.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more fun, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, how do we get an ROI on exercise? Everything in Superhuman is through the lens of ROI. Because, I mean, you've seen Upgrade Labs. I have this at home. I have $1 million lab. I could spend 8 hours a day on rejuvenating technologies and get nothing done.
Right.
So then the question is, what takes the least amount of time and energy? And it's all about energy even more than time. And what gives you the highest returns? So I'm like, how much energy do I have right now? How much time do I have right now? What goal do I want? And then what do I do? And sometimes it's 3 minutes of cryotherapy and that's all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Right. And other times it's much more complex. So everything in Superhuman is through that lens of how much energy and time do you have to invest in this stuff and what did you want to get out of it?
Right.
Because frankly, most people don't need a whole body stem cell makeover unless you're either at this point pretty wealthy and plan to live a very long time. But if you're in a lot of pain and you've been in a car accident and you've had arthritis and things aren't working, maybe you want to do it in just one joint.
Right.
Or, you know, like there's
you don't
areas.
do all of it, but you're showing all the things you can do.
So this is meant to be the way to understand what's available.
Great. Have you ever done a colonic?
I just did one right before I came in.
You're clean.
I have done a colonic.
Well, what are your thoughts on colonics? Are they helpful in eliminating toxins, or do they help the cells in any way? Will they support this?
They can be if they're done right. The first time I did one, I just have really bad gut problems when I had toxic mold exposure, and I was, this is in the 90s sometime. So I was much heavier and just brain not working the way it is now. And there was a lady in Silicon Valley. It was like a super sketchy setup, and you go to this apartment, and it was like, ugh. And I decided that really not much good is coming out of this. But then again, I had chronic gut inflammation from what I was eating, so I wasn't going to heal anyway because I was eating the wrong foods. And since then, I had a friend say, Dave, you should go see this guy called the Colon Whisperer.
No way.
Who's actually here in Beverly Hills.
Shut up.
And yeah, Donna Gates actually told me about him. Donna Gates wrote the Body Ecology Diet, which is basically where the GAPS diet came from. So she's like a luminary in the field and from the previous generation of health influencers. And so
Colon Whisperer.
This guy, I think he was 90. And he's probably still operating. He had walked from the southern point of South America all the way to the U.S., like in the 1930s or something.
Gosh.
Like it took him almost a year to walk up here to do it. And he has this place in Beverly Hills, and he does all the Victoria's Secret models.
Shut up.
I'm not kidding.
90?
Most fascinating guy I've talked to in a long time.
Wow.
And he, he's putting tubes and there's a microscope and he's like, look, you could see this stuff coming out. But he'd been doing this for 50 years. Yeah. And he'd, pulse the pressure and push here and push there. And I tell you, you come out of there, it wasn't uncomfortable at all, but you come out of there like, I am super lean. Like you could see my abs. So there's inflammation stuff. And so if you get a colonic every day or probably even every week, it's going to disrupt your gut bacteria, your bowel flora. Yeah. It's not going to be a good thing. And in here I write about the number of bacteria in my gut. I quadrupled the number of gut bacteria, which is a really important.
You want bacteria in your gut.
You want them. Yeah. And it's a number of species. So I went from 48 species to 196 species. Colonics are going to probably take you in the wrong direction there. But if you're sick or you have toxins,
you want to get rid of that stuff.
It's probably worth it. So I made something called Inner Fuel. It's a bulletproof prebiotic. I put it in my bulletproof coffee now. And I quantified using the Viome test. It's like a $200 test that tells you the number of species and type of species and what they're doing in your gut. So I was at 48. So I can't get enough vegetables when I travel. So then I developed these 3 plant-based resins, basically, like it's tree sap that gut bacteria love. And you put that in the coffee, you can't taste it. And I drink it, and now I'm at 196 species. Turns out, as you age, there's a predictable decline in your gut bacteria. Just by looking at your poop, you can actually tell within 4 years how old someone is. So what if you had a young person's gut bacteria? You can do that, right? So that's all hackable. We just didn't know what to do. No one knew what direction to go in. But now Viome has data on 100,000 people's gut bacteria, right? And we know there's something called Akkermansia that gets grown from fasting. Right? So you need to occasionally not eat, and that'll recycle the lining of your gut more effectively. So you could look at this and go, there's just too much here. My head's going to explode. But here's the deal. At the end of every chapter, there's a set of bullet points. It says, just do these things. You don't have to know all the whys, but most people want to know why. So you're going to forget all the whys, but the bullet points are organized. So you can say, all right, consider doing this. Another thing, you're worried about cancer, let's say. So maybe you're doing the telomerase lengthening thing. Well, natural killer cells are the way you stop cancer. So right now, everyone listening to this interview, you have cancer cells in your body. They happen every single day, and your immune system kills them. That's just how it works. Well, natural killer cells, okay, I went for the heavy-duty hack. Pull my blood out. I think it was 19 vials of blood. Wow. And they cultured it for a while, grew my natural killer cells, and we injected 2 billion of my own natural killer cells back to reset my immune system to be 20 years younger. Now, that's something that you have to fly out of the country to do it. It's pretty far out there. However, it really made a difference. Really? Crazy difference, actually. Let's see, for that one, that would have been just Tijuana. But you actually do all the blood draws and stuff in the US, and then you fly out. And they can do 5 people a month with the amount of growing of these cells. It's a pretty unusual thing. But the reason I did that is, okay, what happens when you get your natural killer cells up? Well, here's what happened to me. For the first 10 days after I had that treatment, I peed 10 times a day, and my bladder was always full. And I wasn't drinking any more water than normal. I couldn't understand it. I lost 3% body fat in those 10 days. No way. When fat's metabolized, I have the data. I have a machine, a $26,000 machine that measures body fat from Upgrade Labs. It's the one we use on our clients.
When you stand on your whole
exactly. So I get to go in and do that. So I'm like, no, I have the data. It was just linear. Dung, dung, dung. And I had to buy smaller pants. I went from basically 13 to 10% body fat. And this was amazing. But what was going on is I had all these immune cells floating around going, can I get rid of toxins? Can I get rid of old cells? Can I get rid of senescent cells? And when fat is metabolized, just like a camel's humps, the fat turns into water. So I was literally turning my fat into water. It was unbelievable. And this was because I weighed 300 pounds, because I had so much systemic inflammation. Some of those compounds were there.
For a long time,
That's nuts. So you're saying, all right, I'm not going to do this crazy thing because I don't like needles, and because it's expensive, and because it's inconvenient, and maybe I don't want to live to 180. So I found a study, because I always find the weird studies. It turns out that going for a walk in an evergreen forest, that smelling the terpenes, the oils from the trees, raises your natural killer count by 20%. So you can buy a type of essential oil called Hiroki spruce oil that is shown to raise your natural killer cells. It'll cost you like $20. Yeah. So there you go. There's always a way to do the same thing. The free way is go for a walk in a forest. The cheap way is get some of this essential oil and occasionally pour some on your pillow. You don't have to be perfect with it. Just expose yourself. You put it behind your ear, whatever makes you happy. Mix it in your cologne. I don't even wear cologne. It's bad for you. At least most of it is. Make it organic if you're going to do it. And then the real expensive thing is I'm on an aggressive anti-aging regimen, or I have cancer or an immune issue. I'm going to go for cultured natural killer cells. But it's a thing. I just want to try the gnarliest one so I can tell you the story of it, and then explain the science, and then tell you how to get the cheapest possible thing that's going to move the needle for you.
Yeah. I love all this stuff, man. I got to start applying it more and go to Upgrade Labs more and everything.
Let's hack you, man. That'll be fun.
That's what I want to do. For the person listening who is overwhelmed, what would you say are 5 to 10 things they could do tomorrow and consistently to just live a better life?
Let's talk.
That's going to help their health. It's going to help
aging and everything.
It's just everything. Overall, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to look better. I'm going to have less pain. More energy.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1. This is going to be very expensive. Stop eating for a day.
Okay.
A whole 24-hour fast.
24-hour fast.
And when I was fat and you told me to do that, it actually made me angry. So I'm like, I have to eat every 6 hours, otherwise my body will go in starvation mode. And besides, if I don't eat every 6 hours, I want to kill people. Okay, I had an unstable blood sugar level and really bad metabolism. So if you're one of those people, do it on a Saturday and just warn your family, and just suck it up. And if you're like, I can't do it, if you have only fat and you can have coffee, you can have tea, no sweeteners, any of that kind of stuff. If you put a bulletproof coffee, just brain octane, no collagen, brain octane and butter.
And ghee,
ghee or butter, just a very small amount of butter, but a teaspoon of brain octane, that'll turn off hunger for most people fasting. So it actually becomes very effortless.
Can you do that as a 24-hour fast?
You can do that a couple of times.
1 or 2 is okay.
Coffee's great, actually.
During a fast?
Yeah.
It's not going to mess up the fasting
process. It
process.
improves it. Okay. In fact, the amount of caffeine in 2 small cups of coffee, in other words, most of us drink 1 medium, which is 2 smalls, is shown in a study from UC San Diego to double ketone production, to increase ketones. Ketones make you full. So normally, if you don't have your coffee in the morning, you're going to be really full. You drink your coffee and you're less hungry from the coffee. And that's pretty cool. Now we know why it's a hunger suppressant. You put the brain octane in there, it bumps your ketones up even more. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh yeah, I guess it's lunchtime. I could eat, maybe I'll have a little bit more of this coffee and I'm good to go. And then at nighttime, you might be a little hungry. You go to sleep anyway. You wake up the next morning. Fasting, doing that once a week or even once every 2 weeks will make you live longer, feel better, turn your brain on. Everything shifts in your metabolism.
Really?
And if that's too much, just try skipping breakfast and having a late lunch. Right? So just learn to teach your body that if you can go without food for a brief period of time, you'll be better off.
True. If you have like a dinner at 6,
and
then you finish by 7, and you just say, I'm going to wait till dinner the next day.
Yeah.
Right? You try to go to bed early, you have coffee in the morning.
There's your 24-hour fast. It's not that big of a deal.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I might do that today. I had dinner at 5 yesterday.
Yeah.
4, 5, and I'll probably just wait till 5 today.
Now,
I had a cup of coffee, water.
Yeah.
Water okay?
Oh, water's great.
Yeah.
Now, one warning. Okay. If you just got off an airplane, if you had a heavy workout, if you had a huge fight with your spouse, or if you're ovulating or about to menstruate, those are probably not the best days to fast. Because you have already enough demands on your body, right? You just finished a marathon. It's okay.
Go eat.
Right? So do it at a time when you're not exceptionally stressed biologically or emotionally or physically. Doing that will change everything. It doesn't cost you anything. It requires a minor amount of willpower. Yeah. The little hack with bulletproof coffee really works. Okay. And you still get all the benefits of fasting. I've interviewed top experts to ask them that question specifically because my understanding of it is that a little bit of fat during a fast won't activate insulin, won't do any bad things. Yeah.
So it's okay.
Gotcha. There's pretty good science behind it. And I went really deep on that.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. So step 1, don't eat. Step 2, learn to sleep. And I write the whole chapter in Superhuman about sleep is just full of sleep hacks I haven't talked about. Here's one thing that just dramatically matters. Blackout curtains. Yeah. And that means no light comes around them. There's a study in Japan of 800 people, 60 years old or more. And they found that the amount of light coming around curtains from just the average street light was enough to increase depression by 63%.
Oh my gosh.
So you're still going to sleep. You tell yourself you don't have a problem. I look at my phone, I still went to sleep, I slept all night, but you got garbage sleep. It's about the quality of your sleep. I showed you my sleep score. That's just highly effective sleep. So here's what to do. Dim the lights in your house or turn them off. It should be dim at night because your body's listening to the color of the light. If you have the bright bathroom lights on at 2 in the morning when you go pee, the rest of your night is trashed for the quality. Right, so I have red lights in the bathrooms.
Really? Where do you get the red lights?
Just Amazon, red LED bulbs. They're cheap, so you have a little night light that does that. And I wear the True Dark glasses before I go to bed, which have helped me a lot. There's other things you can do though. Raising the headboard of your bed by 6 inches. Just raise the height so your bed's at an angle like this. Not a real sharp angle, it's just 6 inches. All kinds of changes in blood flow that are associated with the reduction of aging.
So you mean raise the...
Just put blocks...
So you're at an angle a little bit.
Yeah, put blocks under the head of your bed. So just it tips a little bit, and it turns out laying perfectly flat, animals never do that. They always find a hill and put their head up a little bit. Really? Except for us, we have perfectly flat beds. And there's all sorts of blood dynamics, blood pressure changes in the brain that have to do with at night, the brain washes itself out using cerebrospinal fluid. It works better when there's a bit of gravity to help it come out.
No way.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Even what 3 inches work or no?
Probably, but 6 inches is what's studied. You can buy wooden blocks that just put the bed up.
Interesting. All right.
It's like these are just little things, but learning to sleep well. The True Dark glasses for me doubled my deep sleep. That was the final thing.
Wearing that before you go to bed.
Yeah, for at least a half hour.
So just if you're watching TV, you have them on.
Yeah,
and you're not.
And if you're using your phone, just make sure it's super dim and things like that. And everyone talks about it. Most people don't do it. And you got to understand, there's a 48-hour lag time. You look at bright lights tonight, the next night's sleep will be affected as well. But we're really sensitive to lights, way more than you think. So you'll see me, there's lots of pictures on social media. I'm wearing Kids Evening. I'm wearing these kind of red aviator glasses. And they're actually patented with the spectrums that they're blocking. And yeah, I just tell people I'm a professional rock star or something. I don't know. That plus my stupid looking shoes, and they're like, I'm pretty sure this guy's weird.
I like that. I think Sisson's trying to buy that company. Did he tell you that?
I hope he does.
Yeah, to like rebuild it up.
I love Five Fingers. And you know about the studs on my...
That's cool. What is it? What are the studs for?
Those are Mayan crystals, and they're on the toe chakras. Okay. And so they make like a DNA helix that comes up each leg to the middle to raise testosterone.
Shut up.
I totally think
I was like,
I just bought them on Amazon. They're there to piss off a good friend who hates my shoes.
Okay, that's funny.
I like the story about testosterone.
I like that. Okay, so that's a 24-hour fast. Okay. Learn to sleep better with those tips.
All right. So far, we haven't spent anything other than wood blocks on the bed, right?
Yes, 6 inches. Yep.
Okay. And I got to say though, if you were to monitor your sleep, the Oura Ring, everyone I know who's got one has improved their sleep. Gosh. I mean, my mom, like everyone who has one is like, I didn't know, but I do this one thing and I actually get a better score. Wow. And it just raises your awareness because we're not good at knowing if we got a good night's sleep or a bad night's sleep.
You got to measure it.
Yeah. So it is liberating, but it's, a couple $100, right? But that's real money, but it's worth it. Okay. Next up, to live a lot longer.
Just to be healthier.
Yep. Generally, Don't eat fried stuff. Ever. Gosh. I don't care if it's fried in the fat of
vegetables.
No, not fried vegetables. You take a Brussels sprout, you deep fry it, it's going to taste good, it's going to be bad for you. And here's why. The amount of inflammation in the body from one meal with fried things in it, I don't care if it's fried fish or fried potato chips, it doesn't matter. That increases inflammation for 2 days. A cigarette is 4 to 8 hours. Literally, you're better off to smoke a cigarette than you are to eat a plate of French fries. Okay. And it's that big of a deal.
French fries you can't have?
Well, they're fried. Here, bake the damn French fries. It's not that hard. You bake them and put really good butter on them afterwards. It tastes the same.
I know, but when you go out, no one's baking them with butter on them.
I know. So it's because restaurants they fry them in the worst oils that have been reused. You got to just say no. And you look at that, you're like, that's not food. Like, I don't do that.
It's not.
And if look at the sleep quality when you eat fried stuff. Look at 2 days later. What does my skin look like? It is just not worth it.
It's true.
Save that. Save those calories for something that's really good. Eat ice cream instead of French fries. It's a much better trade-off.
Eat that all day.
Seriously, the ice cream is way less harmful. Okay?
If I can have ice cream?
Done.
Okay, done. All right, so don't eat fried stuff ever.
Yep. And in terms of other things that you can do for anti-aging, I talked a little bit about the 24-hour fast. Intermittent fasting, fasting for more days. Basically, any time that you skip food or reduce your calories is going to be good for you.
So you said 4 days?
I've done a 4-day fast, and you get really massive metabolic changes after 48 hours of fasting.
Really?
And the first 2 days suck, but if you do that brain octane bulletproof coffee trick, it's not that big of a deal. After that, you feel amazing.
48 hours?
Yeah, after 48 hours.
Even 2 days?
Yeah. The second day is when you just think about food all the time.
All the time, you're like, I need to eat. You're just so used to chewing.
It's a habit. Yeah. Right? But then once you ditch the habit, you're like, oh, okay, I just realized I don't need it. And if you were just to sleep better and learn to eat less, you do really well. But if you chronically eat less, so you're always hungry, your life sucks. Yeah. The thing that's shown to reduce aging the most is actually cutting your calories by 1/3. Well, all the people who do that, I know maybe a dozen of them, they're all super thin and like, I'm cold all the time, but I got used to it. Your life sucks. Like, don't do that. Not good. No. Who wants to live to 180 under those conditions?
No one.
No one. But it turns out, not eating for a brief period of time, so here's what happens. Your cells in your body, they go, oh, I guess if I can't go this amount of time without eating, I must be weak. Then they actually remove that part of the body, the little ancient subcellular components, and they build new, younger ones that have the energy to take it. So it's almost like weightlifting for your cells, but you don't have to lift weights. Wow. You just told them, hey, become resilient.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you do those things, you're going to see magic changes to your health. And let's talk about exercise. Okay. We all know that exercise is good, therefore more exercise is better, right? Oh, there's a dose response.
Certain types of exercise, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it turns out there's 2 different sets of research that overlap. And here's the minimum necessary exercise to live a long time. Every day, 20 minutes of walking.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Just, you don't have to breathe hard. You don't have to do anything crazy. Moving more is good. You know, walking up and down the stairs. It's not exercise, really. It's just moving. And then once a week, or twice if you want to, more if it makes you happy, for 15 minutes, do something that makes you want to throw up.
Right.
What that means is run a sprint, rest, sprint, rest, high intensity interval training. And there's a new exercise bike called Carol. They did a bunch of research. They have a 9-minute workout that doesn't make you sweat. And all it is 10 seconds of super intense, like a tiger's chasing you running, followed by as rapidly as possible calming down. And then doing it again and then calming down. Wow. It turns out it's the rate of change of the heart rate that's causing the benefit there.
Interesting.
So you do that twice a week. So you lift really heavy things until you can't anymore, run really fast until you can't, and then pause and do it again. You do that twice a week. So it's 1 or 2 brief bouts of pain. And the rest of the time I went for a walk with my dog or my kids or a colleague at work. That will keep you young. You can do more, but it isn't necessary. And each of those will resuscitate mitochondria. They'll cause blood flow changes. So we're not asking you to go out and like hit the gym for an hour a day. Most people like me, I used to do, when I was 300 pounds, an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week, half weights, half cardio, reliably. I took off Sundays. I was like, I don't care if I'm sick. I don't care if I have final exams. I'm going to the damn gym. I'm not going to be fat anymore. I will not have another knee surgery. After 18 months of that, I still weighed 300 pounds.
Wow.
And I said, well, at least I'm strong. I'll go play laser tag. Okay, high risk sport, right? I squat down, I twist, below my ACL. Oh, man. Another knee surgery. And I was like, man, I did it. I swear to God, I have the records. I did every day. I was on a low-fat diet. It was like, that was one of the things I was like, man, this isn't working. So if exercise is good, more is better. Bad logic. The right dose, the right amount of exercise is good. I just gave you the minimum dose. If you do that, you can walk for 20 minutes a day. You can skip a meal. And you can pay attention to what you do before you go to sleep and make sure that you sleep really well. If you just do those 3 things, it will change your entire life. You might want to add some stress management on top of that. Meditation is a good thing. Yeah. I run a neuroscience institute where we use electrodes on your head so you could do 40 years of meditation in 5 days. I've done 4 months of that. That's why I can write books and run a company and do all the things I do. But here's the deal. Breathing exercises. I did Art of Living for many years. It's a form of breathing that came out of India where you put your arms in different positions and it moves things around your lungs. There's box breath breathing, which I talk about on the site. There's Ujjayi breathing. Go to a yoga class and learn pranayama. Learn how to breathe and learn some form of meditation. I don't even care what it is. If you do that for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, again, is more meditation better? It turns out the fast path of Buddhism, keep in mind, I discovered the idea for Bulletproof Coffee in Tibet learning meditation from the masters. Wow. So like I'm into this stuff, but the fast path of Buddhism, they warn you in the ancient texts and modern psychologists, well, you could get fully enlightened in one lifetime, but a lot of people go nuts.
Yeah, it's true.
There are people who are saying meditation is dangerous. Okay, I would say it's the risk reward is very strong on that. But here's the deal. Just because some meditation is good, you're not a bad person if you didn't meditate for an hour, and you don't need to meditate for 8 hours to be a good person. And you might want to go do Vipassana if you feel called to it, but it's not about doing a lot. It's just like exercise. If you make it a mountain, you won't do it. Nice. So you slept better than you did. You meditated for at least 5 minutes, maybe with some breathing exercises in there. Mm-hmm. You skipped a meal.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not that hard. And if you do those things, I write in the beginning of the book about the 4 killers: cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. If you just did those 4 things, to avoid the 4 things I mentioned, to avoid those 4 things, your risk of them goes down so much that you're no longer average. Yeah. Those aren't going to be the 4 killers for you. You probably will have a 20% chance of those taking you out and an 80% chance of something else. Wow. And if you do the other 7 pillars of aging, at least mostly right, the odds of something taking you out, it's going to be a truck hitting you when you're 120. Right? Or maybe
you're going on a rocket ship to space to try something.
Or maybe you'll die in bed, but during exercise in bed. And that's not a bad situation either, right? Exactly. And this is what aging used to be, Lewis. And this is what is lacking. Most people who are in this go, why would I want to be 180? There's diapers and tubes, and you don't remember your name, and you're entirely dependent on other people, and you feel your brain going away. And man, this is not what aging was ever like throughout all of history. Most of the time, people were, yeah, your back hurt a little bit, but you aged, but you were venerated as the village elder, as having wisdom and respect. And as you did this, eventually you got sick and you died. And it might take you a week. It might take you a day or two, or you just go to bed and you wake up dead. Right? This is how it normally works. This long, protracted period of convalescence and being an invalid, it's unnatural. It's not necessary. It's not what's happening for people who do even a few of the things here. So take that picture, you get rid of it, and you say, when I'm 100 years old, I'm going to be healthy, playing with my grandkids. I'm going to be giving back to my community, and I'm going to have 100 years of experience to share. Wow. And do you know how much 100 years is? Okay. Think about 1919. We were fighting World War I on horseback.
Wow.
They still use cavalry in World War I. Okay. And when people say, Dave, how dare you think you're going to live another 134 years? I know the people doing the research. We have PubMed. We have the internet. We can find knowledge effortlessly. Heck, we can listen to podcasts. You couldn't do that a long time ago. You could only listen to a radio show controlled by 3 big media companies, right? Everything is easier and faster and more fun and more exciting. And the anti-aging field is based on decades of modern research and based on centuries of research in monasteries, in traditional Chinese medicine, in Ayurveda. Yeah. Every major lineage of medicine has anti-aging at its core. Yeah. The modern scientists that we revere, like Francis Bacon, all of them were working on something called natural philosophy, also known as alchemy. Alchemy was the art of immortality, not turning lead into gold. Wow. So the advances of modern science were all based on people trying to live forever. Wow. This is in our core DNA to do this. The thing is, now we can actually do it. And it's the coolest time ever to be alive. Is you have to understand, old age means I look good, I feel good, I'm independent, and I'm wise because I've learned from my mistakes, and I'm still having good sex.
That's great.
And you're eating bacon. Like life is good.
If you're looking to upgrade everything about your life, make sure to check out the video right here. And while you're at it, hit subscribe below.